Welcome to Real Rockford Files, for tales of the paranormal, supernatural, and the flat-out unbelievable. Today I'm going to share the allegedly true story of two families that were terrorized by unknown creatures for a whole night, known as the Kelly-Hopkinsville Encounter. Now, let's get into it. It's August 21st, 1955. A quiet summer night in rural Kentucky. A small farmhouse just outside the town of Hopkinsville, near the community of Kelly, becomes the setting for one of the most terrifying and hotly debated UFO cases in history. What begins as a family gathering soon turns into a siege, not from burglars or wild animals, but from something that no one could explain. Inside the modest home that night were members of the Sutton family and their friend Billy Ray Taylor, 11 people in total, adults and children, packed into a small wooden farmhouse with no phone, no television, and only kerosene lamps to light the rooms. The area was rural and isolated, surrounded by farmland and woods. The closest neighbor was nearly a quarter-mile away. Around 7 p.m., Billy Ray went outside to fetch water from the backyard well. He looked up and saw a bright metallic object streaking through the sky. It glowed in shifting colors before descending behind a nearby tree line. He ran back inside, shouting that he'd seen a flying saucer. The family laughed it off, but within the hour, they'd stopped laughing. Around 8 p.m., the dog outside began barking violently, then yelped and darted under the house. The men stepped onto the porch with their rifles. In the darkness beyond the fence, they saw a faint silvery glow. Something was moving toward them, small, round, and reflective. Then it came into view. A 3.5-foot tall creature emerged from the shadows, its skin metallic and slick, its head oversized with huge glowing yellow eyes, pointed ears, and long arms that reached nearly to the ground. Its hands ended in claws or talons, and it appeared to float or glide, not walk. Startled, Billy Ray raised his .22 rifle and fired. The creature flipped backward, seemingly untouched, and disappeared into the darkness. Seconds later, another figure appeared near a side window. One of the Sutton men fired his shotgun, blowing a hole in the screen. The creature tumbled backward, but was seen moments later climbing the roof. When the men rushed outside, they saw dozens of glowing faces peering from the trees, some on the fence posts, some crouched near the ground. The family retreated inside and began an hours-long standoff. For nearly 4 hours, the creature circled the house. They would appear at a window, vanish, then scratch along the walls or climb the roof. Bullets and shotgun shells seemed to have no effect. Each time a creature was hit, it merely floated away without falling. Inside, children screamed, women prayed, the men reloaded again and again. At one point, one of the beings reached down from the roof and touched Billy Ray's hair through an open doorway, before being blasted with a shotgun at point-blank range. Still, it didn't fall. By around 11 p.m., the Suttons and the Taylors fled in 2 trucks to the Hopkinsville police station. The officers described the family as genuinely terrified. Within an hour, local police, Kentucky State Troopers, and Air Force personnel from nearby Fort Campbell arrived at the farm. They searched the property thoroughly. No creatures were found, but officers did note bullet holes, broken windows, and shotgun shells scattered everywhere, evidence that something had certainly terrified the occupants. They also reported a strange metallic sheen on parts of the ground and fence, though it later evaporated. Some said the area had an unusual faint glow. The police left around 2 a.m., but the family said the creatures returned right after dawn, briefly, before finally disappearing into the woods. The next day, news spread fast. Local papers dubbed it the Hopkinsville Goblins case. Reporters descended on the small town, and the Sutton family was overwhelmed with publicity and ridicule. Skeptics suggested owls, monkeys, or even escaped circus animals, while others accused the family of drinking or making it up for attention. But investigators from the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book found the witnesses sober, consistent, and genuinely frightened. No hoax evidence was ever proven. Every family member, adults and children alike, told nearly identical stories under separate interviews. Over time, the Kelly-Hopkinsville Encounter became legend. Skeptics still debate it, but UFO researchers call it one of the most credible multiple witness close encounters ever recorded. Even astronomer J. Allen Hynek, who later coined the term close encounters of the third kind, referenced the event as foundational. For decades, residents of Kelly, Kentucky have held an annual Little Green Men Days festival to commemorate the night that supposedly changed UFO history. To this day, no definitive explanation has ever been found for what the Sutton family saw, or what stalked their farmhouse through the long Kentucky night. If you were there that night, in a small wooden home surrounded by fields and forests, and you saw glowing eyes moving just beyond the windows, what would you have done? The Sutton family said they fired at visitors who couldn't be killed. Skeptics say they were fooled by fear and the dark. But believers ask a different question. What if the visitors weren't from this world, and what if they plan on coming back? If you enjoyed this story, perhaps you're one of my 1 million subscribers who's finally found me. Click like, subscribe, share it with your friends even.